to That Wrestling Podcast.
We did it. 200 Fridays in a row. This podcast has come out. It is That Wrestling Podcast. I'm Jason. The other guys are here. All of us. I had to fight with Brian to get him for 200. Brian, I know you've been traveling, but I was just like, are you kidding, man? You're not going to be here for 200?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we had to pull some strings. We had to look at schedules and times of this and times of that. Thank you for your flexibility, fellas. I even on the text the other day, I think I had it fuck up with saying like tomorrow's good, I'm cleared, and then you were like, cool, tomorrow it is. I'm like, I'm in Florida. I can't be doing tomorrow.
And I was like, you literally just said tomorrow. Like, whatever. So this is not going to be the typical podcast that we normally do. We're not really going to talk about anything wrestling that's current, that's happening this week. We're just going to talk about 200 Fridays of us in your ear. And I guess we can start at the beginning. Now, we tried a podcast, and it did not do well. Like, we were down to like maybe 8 listeners a week, and 4 of them were right here. So then I had the brilliant idea. I was like, we should just focus on one thing. And it was wrestling. Did you guys like doing the other one? There was kind of like a morning zoo mishmash of whatever. Joe, we'll start with you.
I liked it at first because it was just fun and something to do during the pandemic. But then it turned into work. Like, as in, like, what are we going to talk about this week? It's like when we finally focused on one topic and going with that, something that we actually feel like we can talk about instead of just going to the local news and national news and be like, oh, this is interesting. Jesse's Girls too. Let's talk 20 minutes about that song. It didn't work for us.
Wait, shout out to Coheed and Cambria. Yes.
Yes.
Jesse's Girl 2 was a thing?
That was
we talked about it on the whole show.
It was like the cover song topic we had one time.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about songs that deserve a sequel. You know, things that just weren't us.
Right.
So I'm glad that we changed it, and you know, I'm gonna have to give you credit for that one because you're the one who was like, pull the plug, we're done.
Bro, I just shut that shit down.
Yeah, you did.
When we had multiple weeks of single-digit listens, and 4 of them were here, I was like, nope.
3. Yeah. And a lot of times I didn't listen to it.
I think the email was state of the podcast.
Yes.
It's like state of the union. It kind of goes with upcoming election type stuff.
That's great.
What I had a positive and negative to think about the I'll say the quote unquote good old days. One positive I did like at the beginning that I feel like it kind of got off the rails. I did enjoy that we each had a beer because we all love beer, right? But then some nights it led to 4 beers. 5 beers,
an entire bottle of Crown Royal. I mean, I don't know who did that, but
it'd be like,
awesome.
I enjoyed that just with the fact, you know, we all live far away, multiple hours. You were in a different time zone, Jay. So it's kind of like drinking a beer with a bud, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I don't even remember what happened because I feel like I was getting pretty drunk. The night the podcast died, I relate to Tony Schiavone saying butts in the seats when Mankind, because you were not on it, Jay. It was me, Joe, and Brian. And I feel like it just got off the rails. That was the night we were all drunk. I feel like we were talking about like South Park episode that was on.
Yeah,
it was about the pandemic.
And we were hammered. Yeah, I agree. I remember that.
And I think that's what led to the email coming out that we all agreed. We all took a little break and I'm glad that, you know, we revamped it.
So Brian, you and I go back the longest, and you know, we were the last 2 to stay in radio. The other 2 guys split. So you got out of radio a few years ago. He was like, oh, maybe I'll try this. Or was it just because we started doing those Zoom calls during the pandemic and getting drunk? And then when I said, hey, let's record this. Like, Was the podcast ever something you thought about, or even getting back into radio?
I can remember, Jay, when we went and visited you out in California, because you were like, hey, let's check out my studio, because you were doing the SoCal Pro Wrestling podcast at the time. And that was fun. And so you were giving me the rundown. And I think you were like, you ever think you'd want to get into that? And I'm like, I kind of could see myself being like doing a segment. Like, hey, at the time, Cheap Heat had Stat Guy Greg, who basically would come on for the last 5 minutes of the show and say, you know how you said WrestleMania 8 was in Nashville? It was actually in Indianapolis. I'm like, I could see like a little fun thing, but I didn't see the commitment that is what we're doing now, where it's weekly every week. And
Brian wanted to be Baba Booey. That's all he wanted to be.
Yeah.
Baba Booey.
Absolutely. I'd be all about that. But yeah, no, I loved our original pod. I mean, I definitely remember having reservations where it's like, okay, you know, when it would be a topic of Marvel or a video game or something, that I'm like, all right, kind of got to step out here. That's okay. And if you remember, we avoided wrestling,
right?
You know, because you had the SoCal pod. So it was like, I don't want to talk wrestling because I'm talking wrestling, and it's like, yeah, I get that. So yeah, it was kind of like the light bulb goes off and goes, oh, that's probably the one thing we all have in common the most.
Yeah,
is wrestling. Let's talk about that. I still wish do you have the masters of the football candy draft somewhere?
The Halloween candy draft.
The Halloween candy draft. That was
so we did a Halloween candy draft on our last the first go round.
Yeah.
And we did it, you know, if you watch a draft, there's a lot of terminology that they use to describe these players. Gym rat, 4-star, 5-star,
blue chipper,
yeah.
You know, those. So we were doing that to describe
Skittles
candy draft picks. Yeah. So I don't know. I'd have to look that up because that was before we were saving in videos.
Yeah.
I think we just did audio.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it was fun. But like, I mean, moving into the wrestling space made sense. Like you said, Brian, it's something we all can talk about.
Right.
Without you having to duck out because you don't know who Thanos is. Yeah. Or, you know, all these years later, maybe I'm going to buy a PS5. I don't know. It's funny how those things, you know, they carry.
We're still here. Yeah.
We're still waiting for him to buy a PS3. Okay, let's just be honest.
Can I get those on eBay somehow? Yeah.
Oh, my. So,
no thanks.
So when we started the podcast, it was regimented in a sense that we started with what are you wearing, because I was all about the wrestling shirts, and we did that for probably 100 episodes, I think, or a large amount, maybe not 100, but the important thing is about what are you wearing, I never repeated. Never repeated. The amount of wrestling shirts I own is absurd. You've heard me talk about it from time to time. We did was it the 4 count? The 3 count?
5 count.
5 count.
What was 5 count? I don't remember.
It was just top 5, like, you know, whatever the random topic was that week.
Oh,
so it was the 5 count in honor of King Kong Bundy and Big E.
The Big E sound effect clip from NXT.
Yeah. And then who could forget Promo Mania? That failed.
I
never had to do it. The wheel never.
Well, we're thankful for that, probably.
Yeah, okay.
You know, the thing was, like, in my brain, Promo Mania was supposed to be on the fly.
Right.
I presented an idea of doing something similar to Being the Elite, and you all told me no. But Promo Mania turned into Being the Elite Jace. Brian, you had ponies.
I had ponies.
Kevin did.
Kevin had ponies. What was yours, Brian?
Mine was a Rocky IV training montage inspired promo video.
Was it about clowns or?
It was about VCR tapes.
VCR, yes, that was the thing. Yeah, that maybe made the connection in my mind of like, let's go back to the '80s and do that. And Yeah, that pops up in my Facebook memories from time to time because I did want to put the share in there, and I'm like petting Lucy the dog and punching my punching bag and fake like I was gonna drink a raw egg for my match. fun, but yeah, it's just off the rails.
So, at any point, did any of you think about quitting?
Yeah. I know you said I was going to get 60 in, but like, no, I wasn't. Never.
Nobody thought this is dumb. I don't want to do this. I don't have time for this. Nobody thought that at once.
I don't think so. Quitting,
you did, didn't you?
Quitting, no. Like
quitting the podcast. Just I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. Nobody. That's crazy.
I always feel good about I missed last week with a vacation. Right. I think there was a stretch in May with work and some other things possibly that I'm like, I think I missed 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel, not that I'm feel any sort of like ho-hum doldrums about it, but I always feel like when I miss the week, I get more excited about being back the following week. What about you? I mean, this is your brainchild, so.
I had a real thought of quitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was last year. I was going through a lot, work and life and everything. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I can just give this all to Brian. He can run. Those guys can. And then I took some time and I was like, all right, I'm good. And, there are just times that I get, mental health is for real. And there are times I've been off the deep end and like, yeah. So I did at one time. I thought, you know what? These guys can handle it. They don't need me for anything.
You had the letter drafted.
I think there was one point like everyone had to take a week off for mental health things. It's like, no, I can't talk about stupid wrestling right now when real life is kicking me in the ass. So I get it, but never wanted to quit. There's been certain times that, I get the text message weekly of like, hey, if you need to take a break, Joe, take this week off.
Oh yeah, that's a thing for us.
That's a thing. Like behind the curtain, the weekly. If you need to take a break to get your mind right, Joe, please take this week off. I mean, there's been 2 times where it's been legit, but the rest of the time it's just been Jason's a jerk.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And Kev, you're probably the most. Right before we went on, well, I gotta be up at 5:30 to go to Toledo tomorrow. Like you probably travel the most consistently, I would say.
But so as you mentioned, like we're both dads, right? Yeah. Sometimes kid stuff. We go on family trips. You guys don't have kids, but you guys still go on good adventures without kids. Sometimes I'm jealous for that. But that's the nice thing. One of us can't make it. We share a lot of similar opinions, but we share a lot of different opinions as well. So it still feels fresh that there's 3 of us. Sometimes it's fun when it's one-on-one. Like Jay, when you and I recapped the Jericho Cruise, that was one of my top favorite moments that I've had on the show because it was like 45 minutes nonstop just chatting. And this isn't a stab at you, Joe. When you weren't on, it was flowing without you because the dynamic changes, but the end result is still there. Just like when I'm not there, you guys probably have the most fun of everybody or all the time. But those are the things. It's like there might be a missing wheel, but the car still runs, which is
Kevin. I actually agree with you. Like certain shows where it's like not all 4 of us, they seem to go quicker, smoother. One of my favorite memories was just joking text messaging before Survivor Series this past year, going like, "Yeah, Punk comes back. Let's do an emergency match." And then he did, and Brian was not on, but we got on, and like, okay, we weren't expecting. We had nothing planned.
I was in bed. We have
to do it now. Yeah, you were.
I was in bed, and I just was like, "There's no fucking way. I'm going to bed." It was like 10:30, and a half hour later, I'm like, fuck, I gotta get up.
Kevin and I sending the message. So are we doing this?
Yes.
But that's the nice thing. There was there was only a handful of times that it was a 2-man show. And to my knowledge, there was only twice where it was a 1-man show. I did one, which was the day that Bray Wyatt died.
Yeah, remember that.
And then Brian, you did a solo thing too, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was just the weird circumstances, no one around. I don't think it was any.
It wasn't an extra or anything.
Reason why. It was just, geez, everyone's out this week, and it's the Brian show for this week. I remember you, Jay, because you did it hours after Bray Wyatt. I think it was that day.
Well, I did Bray Wyatt in the morning. I did the show in the morning. And then Bray Wyatt died that afternoon, so I had to redo everything.
Okay, yeah.
So,
I remember I was at Disney World at Epcot, and I'm like, if you can wait an hour, we're almost done. I can do it from the resort. You're like, no, I'm doing it right now. And I'm like,
it was
okay,
like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
Like, I'm just getting on the Guardians ride. Give me some time.
Yeah. When we have our format of us all being able to share thoughts and kind of bounce our own thoughts off of those thoughts, but when it's just you, and especially with the Bray Wyatt one of being just hours earlier before you recorded, that's a tough spot to kind of put all the sentences out there that you want to say.
And Terry Funk.
Yeah, Terry Funk was that same day or right around the same.
No, you did Terry Funk in the morning.
Right, and then I had to redo the whole show because of Bray Wyatt. Everything's changed. So the lost episode, who the hell that is. But so out of everything we've done now, the 200 episodes, we've done a lot of extras and recaps. That's why it's 200 in less than 4 years. But what have we done that you just loved? I'll go first. All Outside at Brian's house, which was the first time after we started that we all got to hang out. We went to some brewery. Kevin's sister drove us around for the first time. And, Adam Cole debuted in the same night as Bryan Danielson, and I was more excited for Adam Cole. Man, I look like an idiot all these years later, but that was one of my favorite things because we hung out. We were, Brian's, it was just a good hang for the first time in a long time. And, was the beginning. Kev, at everything we've done, 200 episodes.
Hot damn. I'm going to say it's kind of it's a thing, but it's multiple things. I'm going to say, I guess it's outside the episodes because technically it's not an episode. So I'll give something that pertains directly to the show and outside. But I'm going to say one of the most fun overall related to the show and outside just in life is the numerous SummerSlams we've been together year after year. And just something about that Nashville trip will always just be one of the best overall fun experiences just because it was late nights each night. So much fun. One thing with the show, I love when we do like an interactive type thing, like when we do the draft, because we actually can talk about it, emphasize, not like Candy Draft. I'm talking about like Raw SmackDown type draft. Candy Draft is fun too, but those are fun because if there's a bet or not involved, it's fun to trash talk. It's fun to be like, dang, pretty deadly. Kudos to you, Jay. But like you drafting them so early and then they get drafted. It's just those type of fun where you can hold that above all of our heads. Like when I picked Carlito to debut back in the WWE way back then, way better than Roman beating Cody, in that prediction. I add. But it's those things that we just bullshit, make fun in those type of situations.
Brian?
That's good. I really enjoyed our SummerSlam Nashville podcast recording from Kevin's house at the beginning of that. Yeah, that was the first, like, we're all sitting at the table recording. Like, that was just a fun, like, look at this. So yeah, that was cool to actually be there to do it that way. And selfishly, I love doing the Twippies. I love doing the Twippies, we'll get my little fancy outfit on, get our thoughts on the whole year. I've always been a sucker for, it's the top 20 countdown and TRL and the year in review. I did a top 106 songs of Q106 one year.
Oh my!
Talk about throwback there. We had 106 new songs that we were playing, I guess.
How many times did you play part of Stairway to Heaven?
Unquestioned number
That's
one.
way too inside now. No one
Or
knows
Tinder.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So planning that is fun. I like doing the, getting to see your guys' votes and seeing how they tabulate and everything. And I always enjoy like a look back at the year and stuff. And what's been cool about it, we started. I pulled up. So the first YouTube video of the show is April 5th of 2021. I'm guessing. So that's a Monday. I'm guessing we recorded it like on Thursday, like we normally do, and took a couple days to get it out on the YouTube.
Yeah.
But wrestling these last couple of years, my point is wrestling these last couple of years, the entertainment, has been through the roof from where it was in 2021, at least, especially in the WWE world. So it's just been a really, really fun time to be able to go along with it and enjoy and share our thoughts.
Joe?
I gotta say, the thing I enjoyed most about the podcast is we all respect the craft. We all have the media background in the way that we're not just doing this just to hear ourselves talk. We really do care about not talking over each other like everyone's podcast, even though we occasionally do it. I'm guilty of it a lot. But when we do, thank you, Jason. When we do the extras, like I said earlier, with when CM Punk came back, never thought we were going to do that. We're just BSing with the text messages. But then it happened, and we felt like we had to do it because it was a big story. And so we respect the craft of being in the media as well, even though we're not media members anymore. But we are still like taking this serious. So I mean, we have merch, especially with this new TWP 200 shirt that I'm wearing tonight. Yeah, and I mean that's what happens when you're the MVP of the show.
Wow.
This was from WrestleMania and Pick'em. So I tried to get something involved with all 200 shows. So these were glasses that Kevin got me during one of the Christmas episodes. So I tried to bring something from the 200 for tonight.
It's funny. I was thinking about my waves of, I don't get Pat McAfee. I don't understand. Oh, this guy's the greatest. I love this guy. And now I don't. Or AEW. I was all about it in the beginning. And now I'm like, whatever. But yeah, the Christmas episode's obviously my thing, my favorite, because I'm the world champion of gift giving. Almost made Kevin cry. I saw that video when I was going through today. I was like, oh yeah, I almost made Kevin cry. So have we done anything that you didn't like? No hard feelings. If I did say, I'm not, no hard feelings. You can put it all out there.
I'll be honest. I can't think of something specific, just for the fact where I think that you can't have a home run every episode, right? You can't think every episode is going to be perfect. So if there's like a little flaw or a little segment that might not have gone great, because we have a pretty formulated show, right? We don't do what are you wearing anymore. We kind of kick that out, right? After 50% of it. I think we have a pretty good baseline. Nothing pops into my head. Now, if you guys say something, I might be like, oh shit, that motherfucker, right? But like nothing that comes out to my head that I dislike now. I didn't mind what are you wearing? That maybe I am on an island of myself, just for the fact where I wore shirts, wrestling shirts still, probably 80% of all 200 episodes, or with all the extras, 190 something, just for the fact where 90% of my shirts I wear every day are wrestling shirts, and I don't change before the show.
Well, Kevin, your wives did not like what are you wearing? Especially Brian's wife.
Well, Brian wore the same British Bulldog shirt every other week, so I mean that's probably why it died.
Oh, the cartoon one with the big
I think my wife has more wrestling shirts than Brian does.
So one thing I did not like, and Brian, you know what this is. So when you guys were doing the football picks, you would use those fucking clips.
Oh, the clips.
I hated the clips so bad.
And that's like my favorite part is the clips.
I hated the clips.
Forgot about that.
hated the clips, man.
Yeah.
I was glad when we, stopped that. You guys did what? 3 seasons or 2?
We did.
No.
Yeah, 3
There's a
football
time there as
seasons.
well.
I think Kevin's son Brett won 2 years, and I think there was a tie.
It was a tie.
1 year.
You mean clips as in like Stephen A. Smith just laughing?
Right. You
Oh,
didn't
God, I
like
hated that
those.
shit. I'm like, no. I was like, Brian, can you cut down the clips? He's like, no.
I'm like, that's the point. It's just not just kids just saying cowboys.
Yeah,
like you'd
but-
have the silly joke behind it. So
No thanks. Was not.
I was gonna say not one that I didn't like, but I was skeptical on was the one episode you guys did. I wasn't on it. What did you call the music challenge thing?
That wrestling playlist.
Yeah. When
need to
I
do that
think like
again.
the texts were coming in about like what this idea was and how it was gonna be, I was like, I don't know if I'm seeing how this is gonna go. And then when I listened to it, I was like, you guys were so good in your explanations of the songs. As if you haven't listened to that episode, listeners or viewers, we took like you had 2 albums and you went track versus track on which is the best.
Yeah, it was the wrestling album and Pile Driver. They each had 10 songs. So we did track 1 versus track 1, and we picked who won, and then created
and that's perfect because it was the 3 of you guys.
Yep.
So you would always get a winner too.
Right. Yeah.
And that was awesome. If it wasn't for the rules of podcast, being able to play just those little clips of the songs, I'd be like, we got to do this with a whole lot of stuff.
But Brian,
the format doesn't allow us to do that.
Brian, not to hate to interrupt, but did it encourage you to look up the songs?
I went on a kick of if you only knew.
So we did our job because that was the point. We're like, go to YouTube and find these because they're not on Spotify.
I'd been working on that idea for a while, and it was just the right opportunity because I knew Brian was not for it. And I knew he was out. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to change the podcast game with that wrestling podcast. And we can still do that. Like, we can come up with the that wrestling playlist of tag team entrance themes or, whatever, main event, WrestleMania main event theme songs or whatever. Or the whatchamacallit, the not theme songs, but like Jelly Roll's Liar was like the official song of SummerSlam.
Yeah,
that down the road. But another awesome creative thing I came up with, because I'm, wanted to pat myself on the back quite a bit. Brews Next.
Yeah, that's good.
We did the beer stuff, the Beer Scouts on the first edition of the podcast, and we tried Brews Next early, and it was like beer names that had some tie to wrestling. I talked to that brewer from San Francisco that had the Mr. Perfect beer, and you didn't really go too far until we just did a Brews Next recently, right? What was that about?
Well, Hulk Hogan beer.
Technically Hulk Hogan beer.
No,
we did the tasting, but that wasn't Brews Next.
No, we did a Brews Next.
Did we?
What was it? It wasn't too long before that.
No, it wasn't.
What could it have been?
Oh, names for Hulk Hogan's upcoming beer. We did that.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, we were going to name it, and that's what it was.
The alternative names.
Alternative names for Hulk Hogan's upcoming beer.
Yeah. That's right. Gotcha.
Leg drop lager.
Yeah, Brews Next was fun. I mean, every time I go to the beer store, I always look to see if I can find something somewhat related to the wrestling. And sometimes there are, and sometimes there aren't. But obviously, with us being in 4 different states, odds are if we try to do it, not all of us are going to be able to find what we want. And Kevin, you can assure Laura, I was not faking my faces during the Real American beer tasting on the Cleveland vlog. That stuff was terrible.
We can all vouch for that.
And
I
quote again, I will never drink this again. So like, I don't know. Is there anything you guys want to do? I mean, the purpose of this podcast is to reminisce, go down memory lane, but also to kind of break down the wall of, hey, this is what we're about. This is what we're going to do. We want to try new things. Is there anything you guys want to do different for the next 200 episodes? You got anything? Any ideas?
I would like to see more individual like video compilations put on YouTube. Because Jason, you said you have a style, which is when I get bored, I just put it together and who cares. And Brian has a style; he's clip heavy, and I haven't seen Kevin's, but I would like to see something along the lines of like just us doing like 2 or 3 minute like bringing back the 5 count, but just making it individual, just for YouTube exclusive only.
So you would want it to be we each have our own playlist on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, but it would be our own top, like our own.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like Kevin would have one. It would be I would have.
Like
we'd all have our own.
Mm-hmm. Like we have Hitting Towns and we have all the extras and everything like that. If we all had our own playlist and put together like little clips of like to bring our personality to YouTube, that's an idea. Is like I was thinking of like really push the YouTube channel more.
Yeah, I would love to do more. I don't know what the other two think, but I'm definitely down for something like that. Brian, I know you love to create and try stuff. Kev, I don't know. I mean, that you and that pony, I mean, that was quite the video. I mean, I know you can make videos.
I got some skills. You guys just haven't seen them yet.
What was that pony's name? Harvey?
Buttercup.
Same thing.
Buttercup.
Buttercup.
Yeah, really close.
And then
that's what I would like to see.
I challenged that damn pony to a Brad and pole match or something like that. And don't forget the after match party from Genuine. Just throwing that out there. I think that's a great idea, Joe. I do. I think maybe an improvement. I like it when we have the special guests for pickers, and I think like your friend a few weeks ago, Jay. I would have enjoyed just listening to him talk more outside of the picks. Like, though, it's nice to get to know. So maybe we could have him back, or you know what I mean. Like we have loads of friends, all of us nerd friends who love wrestling, and continue that type of stuff.
It's just hard to have a guest with four of us. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a fan of the 4 and a guest. Like, 4 is just enough. Obviously, for the picks, that's different. But I would definitely be down for if you want to set up your own stuff. We can obviously put that on the YouTube and put it in the feed, in the audio feed for the people that just listen on audio. Because I mean, we've got 40. We are almost to 4,200. Let me get the official count live on that. That's really
close.
But not everybody watches. Sometimes there are people that just listen, and we are at. I know this is not good for the audio folks, but
Kev, why don't you give us a breaking news sounder while Jason gets up to the second count of our YouTube subscribers, or not? That's cool.
Fail, Kevin.
Well, it knows the Jeopardy song.
No, it wasn't. It was just
you
going.
No, it's do.
You went. Now
you're gonna hear the play. You're gonna listen to the playback. You wrong.
We are literally.
Nobody could hear you, Kevin.
Nobody heard you, Kevin.
Still no.
4,199 subscribers.
Oh!
I really wish we would have had 2.
Wait, how are we short of 4,200 on episode 200? We got to get one person out there to subscribe to make it a nice even 4,200 for episode 200. I'm begging you, if you're listening, if you haven't subscribed, do so now.
Oh, should I subscribe?
Let's
yes.
Let's talk about the YouTube channel. Originally, when we did it, it was just to house the videos. We weren't trying to do anything with YouTube. And then one night in Vegas, Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan changed it all for us. I was sitting second row at Money in the Bank. Becky Lynch had a freak out. By the time I was able to get it uploaded to YouTube, 5 hours later, Brian sends me a text and says, "Hey, we've got 70,000 views and 800 subscribers." Now, in the year and a half prior to that, I think we had 31 subscribers. And then the Liv Morgan cashing in on Ronda Rousey, that video, Scott just went nuts and ended up that I think that week we got about 3,000 subscribers overall. And, the Liv Morgan video is the one that is our only 1 million view video. So, because of Becky Lynch and because of Liv Morgan, and because of me, we were able to monetize, and we were able to look. If you know how YouTube pays out, it ain't good. It is not good at all. Full disclosure for the since that Liv cash in, we have made
nothing to brag about.
$160.56 in 2 years. So
$5 a Crown Royal.
I don't need a W-9 for my taxes.
These are not real diamonds. My glasses fell apart.
Oh no, Joe.
There we go. What the heck was that?
Not so.
Thanks,
macho.
Kevin.
Not so macho, man. That Liv video has been stolen so many times.
Yeah.
And I have reported those people, and the emails that I would get. Hey man, can you pull your strike back? I'll delete. No, fuck off, man. You steal my video, I will go after you. I just got to figure out and learn how to put a watermark over the middle of the video moving forward. But YouTube, like I said, we never thought it was going to be what it was. And Brian, that really piqued your interest. Like that is what I think got you in. Like you were totally in, because when that YouTube stuff happened, your interest picked up a lot. I don't know if you noticed the change, but I did. Do you remember what?
It's interesting because I didn't look this up, but like, when did we do the switch from you hosting to me hosting?
So I think I was about 50 or 60 episodes.
Okay. So yeah, so it's been a minute, and April of 21, and this is
August of 24.
No. When was Liv's cash-in of
22?
Summer
22.
22. So that's around that same time then, 60-ish episodes. So maybe it's all just kind of, perfect circle. But shout out to Liv Morgan. She's probably the show MVP of the actual professional wrestlers. Because without her, yeah, man, without her, who knows where we'd be.
56 subscribers is where we would be.
I looked up that first episode, and it's like 17 views. And it's like, oh my God. And then the next week was like 5. So
our podcast episodes don't get a lot of views. It's the show clips, it's the vlogs. Yeah. That's what gets more views on our page. So, like I've said before, if you guys can hit a couple indie shows, that'd be cool. Just to get some sort of footage out there. I know Brian and the Beer City Bruiser or Brawler or whatever that guy's name was at that bar with your kids.
Oh, I know.
One night, Joe had a chance to really put us in positive light in the world of professional wrestling, and instead he failed miserably by using a number 2 pencil to make his
I did not use a number 2 pencil. You've all seen the sign. It looks good in the house. It's just there's too many lights in the live event. I never made a sign before.
It's like a fine tip Sharpie. There's different.
It wasn't
Sharpies.
A fine tip. It was actually
a number 2 pencil.
It was not a number 2 pencil. I knew you'd bring that up again.
And number 200 pencil.
I mean, you look.
I make one mistake. I still had a great time. I was second row at Raw.
Yeah, well,
but get back to Joe's point though. Yeah, I also, guys, I did that insider breakdown of the what does TNT losing the NBA mean for AEW? And I want to do more of those sort of things.
Yeah,
probably
they don't have
a little
to be
bit
long.
shorter,
They
but
be like the quick vids, because quite honestly, the quick clips, that's what kids watch now. That's what the audience watches. They don't watch long videos anymore.
Yep. I get inundated on my Facebook. It's all the algorithm of, are you interested in this? We'll keep throwing these things at you. I get multiple clips every day of Chris Van Vliet interviewing.
Oh, well,
you guys all get those? Yes. I mean, Joe, you're not on Facebook, but yeah, like all the time. And I watch him every single time. And he has great content. It's great guests. He's a great interviewer. So what we will do will be nowhere near that quality, but I like to be able to see that sort of thing. So that would be my angle of trying to move forward.
What do you mean? And Kevin interviewed that bouncer in Cleveland.
Wait, what? Whip dog, man. Kev with the Stone Cold bouncer guy.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
Yeah. So we need more of those.
Oh, it's great. But I will say,
I do want to go live too, guys. Maybe not every week. Maybe it's a special edition of now and again. I don't know how that looks like, but I do love, Jay, you do with Women's Wrestling Talk. I think StreamYard is the program, and like it's a higher level quality of broadcast versus Zoom. So how that looks, I don't really know, but love to keep exploring it.
I know I wanted to have StreamYard for tonight, but it just didn't happen. So I'm moving in 2 months. I think that maybe once I get situated in my new house, we can figure it out and investigate a little more. It's not as difficult as I think it is, but obviously, going live would help out because there's a live chat and people, can interact and all that stuff. So that is definitely something, down the road I'm looking at. Kev, as part of your video playlist, I would love for you to go back into like wrestling video games. Like, you're the guy. You are the guy for that.
I know. I actually thought about this week because on www.shop.com, Homage is throwing out the WCW NWO World Tour, WCW NWO Revenge, like some of my favorite ones from the N64. So I'm like,
I'll be right back.
Looks like some good ones for Christmas coming up.
That might be something good too for
getting the best wrestling game.
They don't have that on a t-shirt.
I know, but this is still the best wrestling games. PlayStation 2, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain.
I know, I have to go with my...
What, you mean these?
Hey.
Yes.
Of course Jason has them.
Oh, yeah, I bought these as soon as I saw the ad.
Amazing.
Yeah, so...
Amazing.
Now, I didn't play these games, so I don't know a lot about them. But that's why, Kev, I think with what your knowledge... Into my knowledge.
Wait, did that say large? Is that going inside a box? No,
large. No,
it is not the. That is not the crate.
I love them. I'll give a snippet, and this is what you guys can expect. WCW NWO World Tour. My favorite guy ever to play with was Scott Norton, because for some reason he would always knock out the opponent. It was like Lex Luger with the metal arm, or a metal plate in the arm. Like, it was just the way he clotheslined. It was like TKO. And then like throughout the years, this was like 9th grade, right? Playing it. And then throughout the years, it's like you watch people and you get comments. Anyone ever play as Norton? Oh, you played as Scott Norton. And it's just like, holy crap. Because this is some of those things that you plug and play. But next time we are together, Jay, I will bring my N64. Polygonal. That's a word, I think.
Is that people that like have open marriages? Is that what that is?
Polyamorous.
Oh, my bad.
But
way to go, Kevin.
Yeah, but the games are amazing. They are grapple, up button, one move, down button, one move. Like, they're very simple, but they are absolutely amazing.
I'm terrible at wrestling video games. There's too many buttons and too many combinations.
Well, these are no combinations. Yeah. This is like up A.
But the good
right
thing is, Kev, I don't know how. I mean, you're smart enough to figure this shit out. Where you could play, like there's no copyright rules. So like you play, you could film or do something to add to the video, and I think that'd be
for sure.
Awesome. So
100%.
I mean, there's a million wrestling video games out there. So,
and this is the crazy thing. So I watched the vlog, right? Cleveland vlog, on YouTube on our TV. My kid loves watching sports on YouTube. So he like searches and he's just like flipping through. And on it, he's scrolling down and he's like, notices the thumbnail, I guess, right? And he sees and he's just like, huh? I'm like,
it was us. It's
I'm
us.
like,
So
buddy,
did
it's
you.
just as
So
good
you're
as
like a celebrity.
like, look, it's just as good as Jesser with his 1.8 million views. Like, it's just that was just the cool thing. So no, I'm that's gonna be my goal to review those two before the end of the year.
Okay.
We know, look, we all got shit going on. So if you can do it, work on it when you can and throw it up occasionally, that's cool. Like I just, like Kev or Joe said, if each of us have a playlist, look, the content will be so different.
Yeah.
Like I work in independent wrestling. Kev can do the video game. Brian, Joe, beers or toys, or Brian's becoming the big collector now with his blue steel cage and Hulk Hogan figure, and Joe with the Final Boss Funko Pop that he waited 6 weeks in the queue for. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And if I have a logo for something I was attempting to work on, but then I just didn't want to do it anymore. That Wrestling Collector. I mean, there's the name right there, Joe.
Yep.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I don't have as much as you though.
Well, I'm selling a lot of my stuff, so maybe
I have 2 chairs.
Oh well, the chairs are. Yeah, I once I get into this new house,
It's going to be your media room with all the chairs. It's going to be like a
it's going to be like a press conference.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. There will be a studio audience for. Oh man. Well, look, we did 200 episodes.
Yeah.
This is number 200. I want personally, I want to thank you guys. Like I said, Joe, I thought you'd have been out by 50. I wanted to quit last year. I'm glad Brian and Kevin didn't, but I appreciate all the stuff you guys do and the time you put in. I can't pay you guys other than, beers at the 4 times we've been together. Jericho Cruise will be the next time. Looks like All In Dallas is going to replace SummerSlam next year for us. Maybe WrestleMania in Vegas. Just putting that out there. I want to thank you guys. And we have our secondary crew, the Barbara Ryan, the Matt Young, DC, Doc, CJ, Matt Young, whomever. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but I want to thank those guys for doing this. It's just as I'm talking about that, I don't think we've had a woman other than Joe's wife on this podcast.
No, Angela.
Oh, she was on the night.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to count the reveal of the cruise.
Yeah. But was that really Angela? Because Angela doesn't have green hair and wears Seth Rollins shirts. So that could have been.
That's true. That's true.
Wait,
Rollins.
Actually, she was wearing sunglasses. I don't know who that was. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's true. That's
true. Way to fuck that up, Joe.
But yeah, to your point, Jay, like I was thinking that same thing, man, of like, that's what's fun about doing this. Like, not only does it keeps us, staying involved in each other's lives when we don't live close to each other, but extending to other wrestling fans and build that community, like how I am buddies with Matt and Barbara Ryan. I've got, we put it on the social media about, favorite memory of 200 episodes, and old buddy, old Q106 listener, Keith, who still listens to the podcast. He listened to me talk on the radio 20 years ago. And he's like, I love Cody Ton. Cody cracks me up, so like, how cool is that to still have connections to any sort of level, whether it's, good friends or people that you're just still in touch with over social media. That's great, man. That's a beautiful thing about pro wrestling. There's certainly a lot of, nasty tribalism and things like that you can be a part of. And I don't think we really take part in that stuff, which I think is really cool.
Kev, Joe, any closing statements?
I just appreciate being accepted for my nerd side with you guys. I appreciate having you guys as friends and accepting my nerd side. And I think the reason why we don't have the Ys very much is because I think my wife enjoys her 1 hour or so on the recording time to stay away from me.
She probably enjoys her own time.
No, I to be perfectly and honest, I just love hanging out, talking in a format like this where we can continue our daily chats. I just like it, and if I don't like something, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Joe,
I just love the fact that I can turn off real life and just basically unwind for an hour each week with you three and talk wrestling or talk whatever and go off the rails. It just basically takes away from anything that's going on for real. And that's what this podcast is for. So I appreciate that. But what I really appreciate is everyone who subscribed and everyone who listens.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were that interesting. But apparently there's some people who think we do. So I appreciate every single person.
There's still time to prove that.
Yeah. I appreciate every single person who makes it their routine to check out That Wrestling Podcast. So most importantly, I mean, I already appreciate you guys as friends. I say that off the air, but this is my way of saying thank you to those who are watching right now. Without you, we wouldn't be here.
Simon, I forgot to mention
I was just going to say, including Simon?
International.
You know what? I've never been hated by anyone overseas.
Promo mania,
but now I am, and I have Simon to thank for that. And screw you.
And Greg too. Greg was one of our pickers. He's a guy I worked with at the sanitation company. So yeah, that was cool. And I know he told that story when he was on. I started working with him, and a week later was Payback. Joe and his wife came down. I walked up the steps and somebody said hello to me, and it took me a minute because it was Greg, who I had just met like the week before.
Right. Yeah.
He thought I big timed him, which I think. But I did talk of how that gaming championships will be 9-game season, 1 and 4, 2 and 3 make the playoffs. He really enjoyed my plan there for that gaming championship. So I think that's everybody. DC.
Kevin's buddy Scott.
Scott
was a guest picker one time.
Yeah.
We had a good amount, a good selection.
Yeah.
Friends,
and we'll have another one next week for Bash at Berlin.
Oh,
give some credit to Ken too for not only being a guest picker one week, but going to Detroit with us for SummerSlam and being our videographer too. So all 4 of us could be on the camera. So thank you, Ken, as well.
Oh man. So I feel like we need more merch this year. I gotta get creative and make some new shirts. I mean, that is very funny, Joe. I'm surprised you came up with that. It was probably your wife's idea. So,
that was mine.
Oh my god!
She called me a nerd, so that's why I knew it would work.
You can really see the 0-0 on that.
It looks like
because I use the same Sharpie I used.
Right, there it is. There it is. That number 2 pencil again.
I threw you the softball there.
Yes, you did it. I knocked it out.
All right, everybody.
Well done.
200 episodes in the book. We will be back to our regularly scheduled program next week. There will be a Bash of Berlin Pick'ems. This upcoming 2 days from now, if you're listening on Friday, is All In. It's a special 1 o'clock start on the East Coast, which I love. I love granted, it's AEW, so that thing probably will end at 10 p.m., but I like the 1 p.m. starts. We're not talking any wrestling. So thanks again to everybody. 200 in the books, 200 more to go. Thank you, everybody, for watching, subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting, and just enjoy wrestling. Not as good as Brian does. Brian, do the close. I didn't do it right. I was too aggressive.
It's all good. YouTube.com/That Wrestling Podcast, at That WrestlePod for all your social media. Whatamaneuver.net for your merchandise. Shout out to Wilt Chamberlain with the 200. Sure. It's just like that. All right. It's like you said, we got All In this weekend, whether it's that or whatever else you're doing. As always, enjoy wrestling. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to 200 episodes of That Wrestling Podcast.
Did you read that?
No.
Thanks for watching That Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And for more That Wrestling Podcast content, follow @ThatWrestlePod on social media.